This time I'll call to order the meeting of the Clearwater City Council for August 15, 2024. Good evening, and thank you for attending here tonight. If you wish to address the council tonight, please complete a comment card. Comment card's located by the clerk seated to my left. When called to speak, please hand your card to the clerk. This time I'd like to call forward Major Ted Davis from the Salvation Army to deliver invocation, and then ask you to please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Our God, we thank you for each person of this council who has stepped forward to serve this community. Those who are here by election, those who are here by appointment, and those who are here to serve in many, many ways. Thank you for our first responders. Thank you for our law enforcement. Thank you for all of those on various departments that serve this community in so many ways. Father, we pray that this meeting will be productive, that we will learn from it. Thank you for citizens who are here to observe and to take part in these proceedings tonight. For it's in your holy and precious name we make this prayer tonight. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time I'd like to introduce our dais for this evening. To my far right, Assistant City Manager Dan Slaughter. Our City Manager Jennifer Poirier.
Good evening.
To her left, Councilmember Ryan Cotton. To his left, Councilmember Lena Teixeira.
Good evening.
To my immediate left, Vice Mayor David Albritton.
Good evening.
To his left, Councilmember Mike Menino.
Good evening.
And to his left, City Attorney David Margolis.
Good evening.
Thank you. This time I'd like to call forward Amber Bryce, our Arts and Culture Rural Affairs Manager.
Since day one, when she joined the Arts and Cultural Affairs Division, Amber has given her all to every aspect of the position. She immediately jumped into her new role and took the initiative to learn every aspect of the job and provide our city with a beautiful outlook. Here are a few of her incredible accomplishments in only 1 year. She recertified Clearwater as a Coast Guard city, formalized a new sister city relationship with Mexico, completed over 300 surveys for the American for Arts Foundation, which produced an impactful report demonstrating the economic impact of arts and culture programming in Clearwater, granted local nonprofits $1 million in ARPA funds for arts and culture projects, secured $30,000 in National Endowment for the Arts grant for 2 large countryside water tank murals, managed the installation of 4 Coachman Park murals, one that won the best mural in the Visit St. Pete Clearwater Besties Awards, managed the design and installation of a sculpture at Fire Station 46, held 2 Art in the Park events at Coachman Park, created and managed 2 employee art contests and is displaying employee art at the MSB parking garage, coordinated a mural festival through the Gateway and downtown, which added 7 new murals to our city, spruced up the MSB parking garage with new art to replace art that had been there for over 25 years, and is currently organizing a delegation trip for people to visit our sister city in Nagano, Japan. She also organized a middle and high school delegation to Japan and a middle high school exchange from Japan for the first time since COVID, and arranged for art exhibits to be displayed at the Aging Well Center, the MSB, and the main library, and established the Arts Alliance as official Arts Alliance of Clearwater. On a personal note, she was recently one of the winners for participating in the I Make Clearwater Thrive contest. She's made an incredible impact by adding color, art, culture, and vibrancy to every project that comes her way. Thank you, Amber, for your superior public service, your initiatives towards community well-being, and helping to showcase our high-performing government in all that you do. Amber, you truly make Clearwater thrive.
So don't go too far away, Amber, because they're ready to call you to the podium for the next presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Amber Bryce, Arts and Cultural Affairs Manager. I'm going to call up the high school students now. We actually have two presentations. One's going to be high school, one's going to be middle school. Clearwater and Nagano, Japan have been sister cities since 1959, making this our 65th anniversary. Since 1990, the city of Clearwater and Nagano have participated in a reciprocal high school student exchange program. Each year, the city of Clearwater sponsors an exchange of 4 Clearwater resident students and 1 teacher chaperone to Nagano. Students spend about 10 days with a homestay host family while in Nagano. Students are integrated into their host family's lives, eating meals and traveling with their host family while attending high school with their host brother or sister. These mutually beneficial exchanges have a positive impact in promoting and nurturing cross-cultural relations. To be eligible for the exchange, students must be a Clearwater resident, hold a 3.5 GPA, fill out an application and submit an essay expressing their interest to traveling to Japan. They must go through an interview process, and once selected, they must attend 6 orientations before leaving. We have this year's students here tonight to give a presentation about their experience in Japan and the impact that it's had on them.
Good evening, Council. My name is Jenna Allendary.
My name is Indira Yangara.
I'm Tai Cheng.
And my name is Robert Kope.
Okay. So each one of us got along really well with our host families. We connected and bonded with them like they were our own families, and they all took us to go around in tourist destinations or cultural places within their city. We've got some pictures here. Jenna went through and she did some karate classes with her family, along with going and doing some art activities with them. Me and Robert got taken around with our family together, his family and mine, and they cooperated, taking us to a ninja village, went to a Nissan Skyline Museum, and Deer also got along well. This picture here is this was the final dinner. It was the farewell dinner. We did okonomiyaki, and that's her with her family right there.
While at Ichiritsu High School, we met. Sorry. While at Ichiritsu High School, we met so many wonderful and generous people. Throughout our journey, we all made such kind friends who left us with unforgettable memories. Throughout the school festival, we bonded with not only the students, but with the school's culture and environment. We all really enjoyed being a part of the school festival. We worked hard to make sure that our Clearwater room was the best it could be. We made so many friends and loved going around to all the different rooms and experiencing what everyone had to offer.
The 4 of us, on the day 3 of us supposed to go to school, we went and met the mayor of Nagano. His name was Ken. And thanks to Indira and Jenna, I delivered a speech to them, expressing our gratitude for inviting to our city, how beautiful the city is. Ken, he's actually a very down-to-earth guy. You wouldn't notice him when he walked into the room. We all said, rise up, and he sat down. And after the speech, we talked, and he was joking around with me and Robert. He asked Robert how strong he was. Yeah, the mayor of Nagano is a very nice man, and we thank you guys for allowing us to go over there and meet him like that.
On that note, each of us are also incredibly grateful to our wonderful, kind, and generous host families. This trip would not have been the same without them. Each and every one of these families were so incredibly thoughtful and generous, and giving us gifts and memories we will always hold dear. Saying goodbye to them was one of the hardest parts of the trip, and despite staying in their homes and sharing our lives for only 2 weeks, the bonds we have all formed with them is certainly special. Thank you, Council, for allowing us to have this opportunity to meet such wonderful people. Towards the end of our trip, we also traveled by the train to Tokyo. Our time here was entirely different from our time in Nagano, but just as enjoyable. In the city, we were able to visit a multitude of different sites, such as the Tokyo Sky Tree, pictured, the Sensoji Temple, the Meiji Jingu Shrine, Harajuku Shopping District, and the Shibuya District. At these sites, we were able to witness the beauty of Tokyo and the history of the city. To end off on Tokyo, I'd also like to extend an extreme gratitude to Miss Layla and Miss Yuko from Nagano City for guiding us through the maze of Tokyo trains and for being such kind and caring people.
Personally, my favorite part was the food. Before Japan, I was a very picky eater, and I was really worried about the different and unique cultural food that was in Japan. But shown on this PowerPoint, the food was very delicious, and I ended up gaining 5 pounds. And now that I'm back in Florida, I have a willingness to try a lot of new foods, and I'm open to a lot more new things. Some things we wish we would have known before the trip to Japan is that the 2,000 yen bill that we get when you transfer the money into yen is very special and rare in Nagano. In Tokyo, it's not that rare, but in Nagano, they've never seen the $2,000 bill. So that was something that we wish we would have known. Duolingo for some more basic phrases, because it was tough to communicate with the little Japanese that, I knew. I know Jenna and Indira and Ty did their studies, but I wish I would have studied a little more. And to make sure to bring a fan with you, they usually have a lot of fans in Japan, but there's no air conditioning, and in the summer it can get pretty hot in some places. But other than that, yeah, we were very well prepared. Thank you for allowing us to go to Japan, for this opportunity. We're very grateful for it.
Thank you.
City Council, thank you for going over there and representing Clearwater, and also showing other kids in Clearwater what international opportunities are available to Clearwater young people. Certainly, you did great work for the city, not just learned a lot yourselves being over there. I think we'd like to get our picture taken with you if you just come up front here. Yeah, we'll stay up here.
Yeah, come on in. Are we going down? Oh, we're going down. Okay.
So for any interested students, high school students, the application for the 2025 student exchange trip will be open tomorrow, and it closes December 15th. Any interested students can apply on our city website at myclearwater.com/sistercities. Now I'd like to call up the Young Ambassador middle school students. Since 2001, Clearwater Sister Cities, Inc., a citizen-run nonprofit organization, have sponsored an annual exchange of middle school students with Nagano City. These young ambassadors, as they're called, travel for 2 weeks, staying with the host family as part of a language and cultural immersion program. During the stay, the students attend junior high school and attend other after-school activities. They also visit other important sites like Hiroshima, Tokyo, and Kyoto. Through these exchanges, students gain experience, discipline, self-confidence as they interact with dignitaries, citizens, students, and families. And they make presentations to the mayor and other Nagano City officials. Although not a Clearwater City-funded trip, this year was the first year that the City of Clearwater offered a scholarship for one Clearwater resident middle school student to be a young ambassador. The recipient of this scholarship is here tonight to give a presentation with one of the chaperones, Anthony Powell, to do a little intro.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Anthony Powell, and this here behind me, this is Natalie Eklund. She is the recipient of the Clearwater Sister Cities Scholarship. So during this summer, CSCI sent 9 students and 3 chaperones to Japan. During the first week, the YA went sightseeing to several major cities of Japan like Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, Nara, Himeji, and Hiroshima. Favorite stops included Asakusa, Nabayasaka Jinja, Meiji Shrine, Himeji, and Osaka Castle, Fushimi Inari, Kiyomizu Dera. During the second week, we lived with a host family, attended a Japanese school, explored Nagano, met the mayor, and participated in traditional Japanese activities.
In Nagano, the people are really friendly, and our guides helped us while we were there. We started out in Nagano Station. We stayed the night there, and then in the morning, we partook in a matcha tea ceremony, where we learned how to make matcha tea traditionally with the help of some guides. And then we went to the Zenkoji Temple, wearing yukatas, and listened to a Buddhist prayer. And then we went into like a pitch black tunnel, and you had to learn to trust yourself and your instincts and like follow the wall to like guide yourself to the light. When we were at the school in Nagano, the students were really friendly, and we all made a lot of friends. And our host families were all very considerate, and mine gave me a lot of gifts and helped me throughout the city. My breakfasts were all from convenience stores, and one of them was like tofu. And then our lunches at the school were traditional like Japanese school lunches, like cucumber salad, fish, some soups. And then my dinners were, we had barbecue one night with 2 of the other families out in someone's yard, and my family made me cold soba one of the days. At the school, we had a calligraphy class, which was really fun, and we learned how to play a traditional Japanese song on a few instruments. I also went to softball with one of my homestay sisters, and they let me play with them. Thank you for this opportunity and the scholarship.
You want to go there?
I think it's too big of a group.
No.
I think you should. Big group.
This is a large
Thank
group,
you.
yes, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just line up there in front of us.
Yeah, be careful.
Oh, shoot, pictures are happening.
You ready?
Already going.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you for participating. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks for representing us.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Well, it's an exciting moment for a young person, having traveled a little bit older than those of you here, but I was in my early 20s when I first went outside the United States, and it certainly changes your view of the world once you've visited another country. So we're so happy that this program and the Sister Cities program has existed in Clearwater for many years. It's touched so many lives, young people here in Clearwater and in Japan. And so your participation is not just about you learning, it's about maintaining the relationship with the city of Clearwater and Nagano to benefit generations to come, and young people to come who will follow your footsteps. So thank you for going over there and representing Clearwater really well. and having fun with it. I hope when we go in October, I don't gain 5 pounds from the food.
I was thinking about
But I agree, I've been to Japan a number of times, the food is very good there. But you're not just representing Clearwater, you're representing the United States and our country. And that's a unique experience for you that went over there. And again, thank you for doing that, and thank you for keeping this wonderful program we have in Clearwater going. With that, I'll move to item 5 on the agenda, approval of minutes.
Make a motion to approve agenda item 5.1.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Move to the consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda tonight?
Mayor, I have received a request to remove 6.1 and 6.2.
Is there a motion to approve with removal?
6.3.
And 6.3? Is there a motion to approve with removal of those 3 items?
Motion to approve 6.4, 6.5, and 6.6.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. We'll move to item 6.1 on the agenda.
Approve the First Amendment to the venue license agreement between the City of Clearwater and Ruth Eckerd Hall, Inc. for the management and operation of the BayCare Sound, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Art Cater, Parks and Recreation Director. We discussed this item on Monday at the work session, but I am available to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from Mr. Cater? Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.1?
I'm Mr. Haluba. I'm not sure an amendment to the sound license agreement is appropriate at this time. The amphitheater was not a well thought out project. It was really a conceptual mistake from the beginning. There's many functional issues, or I guess dysfunctional issues, beyond just the bad restrooms. One of the huge drawbacks that people have told me about, oddly enough, is that, it's a cashless venue. And I guess we have Kevin Dunbar to thank for that. So what should really be done with the sound before it, turns into some sort of a white elephant money pit? I don't know. I don't think it's going to make it as a venue. Now, maybe it would make a good homeless encampment. But even at that, the restrooms would still be inadequate.
Is anyone else here from the public desiring to speak to agenda item 6.1? Seeing, hearing none, any further council discussion? Seeing, hearing none, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 6.1.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.2.
Approve supplemental 2 work order from Moffitt and Nickel of Tampa, Florida for construction, engineering, inspection, additional permitting services, and grant administration for the Clearwater Beach Marina replacement project. A $329,1700 project increase for a new total of $1,849,091.50 pursuant to request for qualifications 24-21, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Evening, Mayor, Council members. Marcus Williamson, Public Works Director. Didn't want to rehash everything we went through before, but just a reminder, this was in the Marina budget that had been presented before, so we knew that these were going to be out there. The engineers were just focused on working through those value engineering items, Vice working on this, because we had to prioritize the time that they had. So again, this supplemental work order helps them answer RFIs, review submittals, do inspections that's out there, plus assist with obtaining and overseeing the grants that we're getting on this project. So standing by for any questions.
Anyone here from the public desiring to speak to agenda item 6.2?
I'm Mr. Haluba, and the Marina project is, you know, another huge project with a huge price tag. It perhaps should have been decided by referendum and not just a, you know, another, unanimous vote. Now, I tried to look at the PDF downloads today and they were blocked, so that's not exactly open and transparent. And I do hope all of you will, you know, at least question reallocations of funds as this project goes forward. It's a lot of money. There could be a big sieve in there somewhere where a lot of it goes. Overall, I think it's, a good project. However, it must be self-supporting financially through either enterprise funding or grants only. It should not fall on the taxpayers' back like Coachman Park did.
Anyone else here from the public desiring to speak to agenda item 6.2? Seeing and hearing none, is there any council discussion? Seeing and hearing none, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 6.2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 6.3.
Approve a contract for purchase of real property by the City of Clearwater located at 1843 Springtime Avenue, Clearwater, Florida, 33774, owned by James McLaughlin with a purchase price of $350,000 and total expenditures and not to exceed $360,000, and authorize appropriate officials to execute same, together with all instruments required to effect closing.
Thank you, Rose. Good evening, Mayor, Council members. Robert Kasmer, Public Works Engineering Real Estate. From the initial presentation on Monday, what other questions do you have that I may answer?
Is there any questions from the council?
I'll be glad to readdress any issues or rediscuss the entire matter.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.3?
Good evening, Mayor Rector, council members, Ms. Poirier, Mr. Margolis. My name is Rudy Michaelek. One of the provisions listed in here was the purchase of a piece of property, the demolition of the house, et cetera, for a number to not exceed $360,000. The purchase of this was on the basis of an easement that runs across the property, and this may be a good way to get to any corrections needed to those easements or to the adjacent properties. My question actually is, to the council, is have we looked at what we used to call the opportunity cost, the alternative cost methods of doing this construction part without actually having to buy the land? I think during the work session, I heard the term raised, well, we'd have to bring in a crane to move certain items into the property or onto the property. And so my only question is since we know that one sided cost is $360,000, is there another cost line that might be less in order to still facilitate this improvement to the property? And that's simply what I'm asking. Other than that, I have no issue with what's going on. So,
Does anyone else here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 6.3? Seeing none, Mr. Kasmer, you want to answer that?
Absolutely. Thank you again. Okay, the entire purpose of the purchase is this parcel rests between two bridges that need to be completely redone and re-enlarged to enhance the flow, any type of storm water that passes through that. Of the three bridges, again, we're not purchasing property just for access. This is a long-term commitment to the land, to the parcel, to the access. Again, the creek bed does get rather deep. It can be used by parks potentially for kayaks. They have a park down the road from it. This property offers many attributes other than just simple hard cost construction-wise. The fact that purchasing the easement, again, I take that very strongly. I don't like doing that. I think that maybe sets a poor precedent. But in this situation, the fact that the amount of construction that has to be done to the property and to the bridges, this is the only feasible matter. Again, I've sat down many times with construction. I've sat down with legal. We've discussed different avenues to approach this, and all the numbers came back to where this is well justified.
If I can just add a couple of other parts. So we did talk through, there was a lot of dialogue on this property that went back and forth. Part of the issue, because we have long-term maintenance, we've heard from different residents that were out there, how do we get after cleaning up some of the litter and all of this. This property gives us the ability to get in, not just to do our annual maintenances that we'll have to do, but it gives us a good launching point. We don't have a tremendous number of properties that are in these locations that give us the access to bring our larger equipment in to do some of this type of work. So in addition to the construction savings, because we'd be so close to working by that house, and candidly, that would be extremely disruptive to somebody to try to stay in that home while we're doing all this. There's definite long-term benefits to the city for giving us that stormwater maintenance access for years to come.
Marcus, can you explain the CRS benefit too, please?
Oh, yes, sorry. So the CRS, we actually get credit, and it's a credit that continues every single year. So if you buy a property that's in one of these flood-prone areas, it actually helps your CRS rating, and it helps it every single year, so it's not a one-time shot. So as we are selectively able to find some of these, it's smart money, because then it helps every resident in their flood insurance.
Okay.
One more thing, if I may, Mayor, please. I dove into the MLS and I looked for comparables to find something very surprising. From a real estate perspective, I looked at the hard cost of the property. The subject property has 137 feet of waterfront. Waterfront is the money of any property. The comp one has 0 waterfront, sold for $350,000. Comp two, 65 feet of waterfront, sold for $525,000. Comp three, 90 feet of waterfront, sold for $635,000. Again, we weren't buying waterfront, we were buying access, but waterfront was just one feature that we had to work around, and we were fortunate to get it for the price that we did.
So I just want to follow up with that, Marcus. If you have to get back up, I apologize. But we did do that cost value analysis to where bringing in a barge or renting the crane equipment, this definitely makes sense, especially with, helping out our residents with the stormwater or flood insurance.
We didn't run all of the numbers from it. I mean, just from the professional experiences, you start to look at that would get to be much more difficult, because we actually have to go in and do work on the wing walls. So a lot of that you have to get up there. You have to bring your concrete trucks in. Doing it from barge would just be substantially more expensive to try to do that, not to mention trying to get those in some of that area, because you got to come under another low bridge. So there's not good ways to do some of it. So it really was the best alternative that was out there.
And how many feet of waterfront did you say this one had?
The subject property is 137 feet of waterfront.
Okay, good, and that gives you enough access to be able to do all the work you would have to.
So if we need to drop boats down there to get after trash booms, collect stuff, do maintenance, debris removal. We can get a vac truck up there, we can pull it down, or we can pull our debris equipment, our dump trucks and stuff in there to grab debris. So it's a good piece of property, and we can access 2 bridges in one shot. So that's a real bonus. You don't get to do that very often. So
Also, the area is heavily wooded, much trees down there. If we have to bring any type of additional equipment to lower anything we may need in the creek bed, substantial amount of tree work needs to be done. That in itself, again, there's just many features and reasons why the property just supports the purchase.
Any other questions from the council? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 6.3 and purchase property.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening.
Item 7.1.
Approve State Housing Initiatives Partnership Program Annual Report and Local Housing Incentive Certification for the closeout year 2021 through 2022 and interim year 2022 through 2023, and allow appropriate officials to execute same.
Thank you, Chuck Lane, Economic Development Housing Department. We're required to submit an annual report of the city's use of State Housing Initiative Partnership Program funds. We're required to report on a closeout year and also to report limited information on an interim year. SHIP is a unique funding source. It requires us to meet several set-asides with expenditure thresholds on income levels, households with special needs, construction projects, and home ownership. And because it's difficult to meet these thresholds each year, we're allowed to keep the books open on the 3 most recent years so we can shift expenditures from one year to another. Earlier this year, each year at this time, we close out the oldest of those 3 years. So the closeout year is fiscal year 2021-22. Our allocation that year was $806,837, and that's broken out by $1,045,000 in program income. We carried over a negative balance of just under $7,000. Total funding was $1,845,274. The city spent a total of $1,782,436 to assist 68 households using the strategies in our local housing assistance plan. The city expended $271,000 on purchase assistance, about $442,000 on owner-occupied rehabilitation, about $706,000 on construction of 4 new single-family homes, and about $363,000 on the rehabilitation of 47 multifamily units. Additionally, the city spent about $108,000 on program administration. The city's SHIP program will carry over a negative balance of $45,096.71 into the next fiscal year, which is FY 22-23, and that will be closed out at this time next year. For the interim year, which again is 2022-23, the city received an allocation of $1,127,930 and an additional $772,574 in program income, for a total of $1,900,504 in available funds. All of those funds are either spent or encumbered, which is a requirement of the SHIP program for the interim year. And I'll take questions at this time.
Is there anyone here from the public desiring to speak to agenda item 7.1? Seeing none, is there any questions from the council or discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 7.1.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 7.2.
Appoint 11 members to the 2024 Affordable Housing Advisory Committee to include the appointment of a locally elected official and adopt Resolution 24-11.
This item is also related to SHIP funding. We're required by Florida statute to assemble an Affordable Housing Advisory Committee every year. The committee is tasked with reviewing land use policies such as ordinances, regulations, zoning and development standards, and any other things we have in place that might affect the cost to build residential development. The committee's objective is to identify potential barriers and incentives that might impact a developer's decision to build affordable housing. The committee is comprised of 11 members. 7 of the seats are filled by the members of our current Neighborhood and Affordable Housing Advisory Board. 3 of the remaining 4 seats are filled by people meeting specific criteria according to the state statute. Of those 3 members, 1 is an essential services representative. This seat will be filled by Cherie DeBlair. She's an associate provost at St. Petersburg College. 1 is a residential home builder. That will be filled by Rick Vale, chief construction officer for Habitat for Humanity of Pinellas and West Pasco County. And one represents a local planning agency. That seat will be filled by Michael Boutsikas, who serves on the Community Development Board. So the remaining seat must be filled by a member of City Council. And at Monday's work session, it seemed that council will bestow this privilege on Councilmember Marina. So I'll take questions.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 7.2? Seeing and hearing none, is there any council discussion? Marina? Yeah.
Mayor, we have Resolution 24-11, a resolution of the City of Clearwater, Florida, appointing the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee in accordance with Florida Statute Section 420.9076 and required for purposes of the State Housing Initiatives Partnership, which is called the SHIP program, providing that the city's Neighborhood and Affordable Housing Advisory Board, the NAHAB, among several other individuals, shall serve as said committee, appointing existing NAHAB members to the committee, appointing additional members to the committee in accordance with Section 2.228 Code of Ordinances of the City of Clearwater, providing an effective date.
This time, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 7.2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 7.3.
Approve increases of residential and commercial stormwater utility rates by 8% per equivalent residential unit beginning November 1, 2024, October 1, 2025, October 1, 2026, October 1, 2027, and October 1, 2028. Allow for billing of property owners for services of stormwater management irrespective of the use of other utility services, and pass ordinance 9774-24 on first reading.
Evening, Mayor, council members, Marcus Williamson, Public Works Director. I didn't want to rehash the whole presentation again, but did want to highlight a few of the different pieces. So it's not just Clearwater that's struggling with some of the stormwater challenges that's out there. It's a lot of the coastal communities in Florida, which is why we saw a whole number of cities are having to do that. They're having to make those investments in the infrastructure. That being said, very respectful of, you never want to have to ask for a rate increase, so we need to do everything that we can possibly do to pull that down. So just a reminder, we can revisit this as we're going through, and we would love to do that. We are going to actively pursue a number of different grant opportunities. The rate study can't include any of that in it, so that's where, as we can lock those on, we can adjust future year numbers. So we will actively go after those. We want to look for those efficiencies that we can find that might be out there. Are there design alternatives where we can do things smarter that are out there? So we're actively going to work very hard to see what we can do to drive those bills down. There's a number of items we just have to kind of get after to help with some of the flooding issues all over the city, as well as improving some of that stormwater infrastructure that's out there. So standing by for any questions.
Okay. Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to the agenda item 7.3?
I'm Mr. Haluba. I don't know where anybody gets the idea that stormwater is a utility. It's not. It's, storm issues are funded as part of the street department, paid for by tax revenues. It's not a utility. 8% stormwater rate increase each year until 2028 is an outrage. This proposal does not fit any enterprise funding criteria because there's no measurable services provided. Can't do it. But you will. It'll be a unanimous vote. And citizens will pay, as we heard, irrespective of use of other utility services. So I guess You know, if you balk at paying this, they'll cut your other utilities off. It just, you know, really smacks of extortion, kind of on a organized crime level. It's not, stormwater is not, it's not a utility. Can't measure it. There's not a meter for it. Now, one other problem that I have with this is the PDF actually opened on this one, and there's this strategic priority argument, you know, and I'm just gonna read number 1.4, I'm gonna skip to it. Stormwater fees, and I quote, foster safe and healthy communities in Clearwater through first-class public safety and emergency response services. So I guess, you know, that's a reference to Clearwater Police Department. It's the same Clearwater Police Department that tips off drug dealers, you know, and screws up cases at the state attorney's office. Same one that couldn't figure it out for themselves, had to have the sheriff's department come in and file charges. And if we can't get rid of this fiefdom that I've named to all of you, if the city manager can't clean this up, which she won't, then we need a new city manager immediately to put these people on administrative leave on the way to them being terminated. And I'm talking about Wallach, Gandy, and especially Slaughter.
Is anyone else here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 7.3?
Good evening, Council. Bill Johnson. I'm speaking for myself tonight. And I would give you a perspective that I was on the Environmental Advisory Board when the original stormwater fee was implemented, and it was $1.35 back in '91, I think. I think there is some additional information that at least is needed by the second reading of this. I watched the video of the work session, and there was a PowerPoint that was shown. That PowerPoint wasn't available on the as an attachment to the agenda item tonight, so I'd like to look at it. It had some information about the comparison with other cities, and the comparisons I think were for 24 and 25, but it didn't go out to the full range. It'd be interesting to do a little analysis as to where those cities are, whether they have a substantial amount of waterfront property like Treasure Island, for instance, versus us where we're only 14% is in the storm surge area. A couple meetings ago, you had a presentation from Sarah Kessler about completing the work on the CRS, and I think she said that the intent was to move it from a 5 to a 4 in 4 years. If we're now looking at spending a whole lot of money on stormwater stuff, shouldn't we have a far better idea of what will be required in order that we'll be implementing moving forward? I'd be interested in knowing how much of this is addressing broken systems versus basically installing new stormwater conveyances in areas that, if it was done by a subdivision, would have been done originally. And I understand that this is both for rainwater and for tidal adjustments. I wonder how much of this is for rising water versus tidal adjustments. Maybe that's what you're trying to get the grants for. So those are some questions I think would be helpful to have before second reading, and I thank you for your consideration.
Need to read it again before we discuss it?
This one has not been read yet, so yes. Matt?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is ordinance number 9774-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending Code of Ordinances, Appendix A, Schedule of Fees, Rates, and Charges, Article 24, Public Works, Fees, Rates, and Charges, amending Section 3E, Stormwater Utility Rates, amending Section 32.244 to allow for billing a property owner for the services of stormwater management irrespective of the use of other utility services of the property, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Okay, well, I guess I'll start off this one. So we just learned within the last week or two just how important stormwater investment is to not just Clearwater, but our entire region. We had problems with flooding throughout Tampa Bay, lots of municipalities, and we certainly had our share here in Clearwater. I had lunch with the mayor of Tampa and the mayor of St. Petersburg this week, and we discussed this issue. How important it is for all of our municipalities, particularly the three largest, to protect our bay, our natural waters, because it lends itself to the quality of life. It's very important to our tourism that we maintain our coastal waters remain clear and clean. So all three of us acknowledged that we have a lot of work to do in each of our communities to bring it, to get our stormwater systems where they should be. And those two mayors acknowledged that they both are charging more now and are raising their rates for stormwater to try to keep pace with the repairs that need to be made. So I'm not for just raising these rates just because, they asked or suggested we raise them. I asked many of those questions that have been asked by the folks that come up to the podium. Is this really necessary? But having looked at it, two things. One, in Clearwater, just in this past storm, it's not just a coastal problem. It's not just the barrier islands. We had some of our worst flooding in town was over in Alligator Creek. Not right on the coast or the bay, but pretty far inland. It had to do with some other issues, but we had flooding in Countryside. We had flooding all over the city, areas where we normally wouldn't have flooding, but the volume of rain that came down in a short period was just too much for our stormwater to handle. That said, all of us up here have all agree that it's unacceptable, the kind of flooding that we had, even with the large storm. We need to be prepared for the worst of the worst. And to be prepared for the worst of the worst, we need to make some investments in our stormwater. So in St. Pete Beach, too, was also higher than us now, and they're raising theirs, too. So as our staff pointed out, this isn't a unique challenge for Clearwater. It's a unique challenge for all the municipalities in our entire region. And I'm not okay with just raising it. Certainly, we are looking for funding. The city manager and I met with some state legislators just this week to talk about grant requests and different things we might propose for the state legislature. We'll sort of be in communication with our congressional representative to make sure that we get considered for funding in that way as well. But it's unfortunately a challenge that all the municipalities in Tampa Bay are dealing with. And so I just want to add that perspective to it. Councilmember Cotton?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd also like to just thank Marcus for the comments that you did make in empathizing with the rate going up but seeking other funding. Because as the mayor even alluded to during the work session and tonight, we all feel that same sentiment. We know that your rates are going up as well as ours. We know the tightening that you guys, the citizens, have had to do within the community, and it's not something that we're trying to do, but we do have to fix this infrastructure, and it has to get paid for. And that's why I genuinely appreciate you informing the public and everybody here today that we're looking for other revenue sources to fund these things because we empathize with what people are feeling, and we're not just trying to raise taxes. Quite frankly, when we have the chance, all of us, I believe, will want to do the opposite, and working with state legislators to secure funding, federal grants through FEMA, stormwater projects. I'm looking into those as well as we can see the director is and all staff to try and make sure at the end of the day we can lower rates sooner than try and keep this projection. So thank you.
Other questions, comments?
No, I
Councilmember
just
Marina?
want to make a comment. I also appreciate staff on how hard we've been working in the last handful of months at attacking some of our infrastructure challenges. I know this dais really takes that to heart to make sure that we're safe in our community, our residents are, and that we're sustainable going forward, and that has required some attention. Regarding the rate increase, I think, we had a discussion briefly about the projection in years forward, and I think it's, to put that in a little context, we're assuming that inflationary pressures stay the same, costs and labor stay the same, which we know and assume those will probably change. But we're saying that single-family households will see an increase of $1.11. Am I correct in remembering that? Single-family households will see a $1.11 increase in that percentage. So I think that might, sometimes we hear percentages and it can be a lot more scary than when we put it in context. But I appreciate you and your entire team and the multitude of projects that you're working on for the city.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 7.3.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 7.4.
Confirm the declaration of a state of emergency due to conditions surrounding Hurricane Debby and adopt Resolution 24-13.
Good evening, Council. Mayor Javon Graham, Division Chief Emergency Management. Excuse me. This item before you is the declaration that was needed of emergency that was needed for the impacts faced by Hurricane Debby. The resolution outlines some of the processes that this declaration approved, such as the city manager being able to increase spending limits, being able to alter procurement process, which allowed us to quickly effect repairs, bring in the resources needed to immediately handle these damages. With that, I'll answer any questions you might have.
Does anyone here from the public desire to speak to agenda item 7.4? Hearing and seeing none, is there a council discussion? Mr. Margolis?
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 24-13, a resolution of the City of Clearwater, Florida, confirming a declaration of a state of emergency and establishing emergency procurement procedures, establishing emergency employee work schedules, providing an effective date.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve agenda item 7.4.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Agenda item 8.1, the work beach update.
Evening, Mayor, council members, Marcus Williamson, Public Works Director. So big one I just want to talk about was the storm. So I think we saw some of the pumps were working a lot better. A lot of the maintenance that we had done out there really helped. We also were able to see some of the refinement on the streets where we were still seeing it, a couple of those areas that are a little bit of a bold and a low point. So we've been fortunate in some of this that we're going to take this into the design. So we're in the process of the larger implementation. We've received proposals in, so we're reviewing them. Our intent is to sit back down, rediscuss some of this. We think there may actually be ways we can come up with a little bit more creative design, maybe not have to replace all of the infrastructure and look at some of that. So we want to see if we can't do some of that to kind of help with overall cost impact, so we're not having to tear up quite as much out there. So we've been able to leverage a lot of that knowledge out there. And I guess just speaking to some of the complexities out here, because Mr. Johnson had brought up the tidal versus the storm water that's out there. And in a lot of our areas, they go hand in hand. So it's not just North Beach, but when we look at like Bayshore Drive, that's tidally influenced. As that backs up, that also backs up all of your rivers and other areas also. So they go a little bit hand in hand. It's not always just whoever is right on that property. It can actually go up river from that, which is why it's important. Some of what we're identifying is we've got to do a little bit better with some of the dredging in some of our ponds out there also. So as we look across all the city, it's actually been very informative for us to watch some of this, watch some of the tidal influence, and we can start to use that out across the rest of the city also. So.
Any questions, council? Okay. Thank you, and, we said this at the work session on Monday, but the entire city team was just all over it, very responsive. We had some very unique problems pop up, and they worked tirelessly to figure them out, and then since to identify where those issues were and what caused them so that we can do our best to make sure that they don't happen going forward. So thank you to your team in particular, because I know that I went to the Clearwater Beach Association meeting on Tuesday night. They were very appreciative of the work that your team did to make sure that that heavy rain event didn't get into their homes as it has in past storms. So they were also curious when the project's going to get started too. So it's good to hear that you're moving that forward.
And the permanent pumps will come before the rest of it. So again, they should be getting out. They have to do some of the surveys with the seagrass and the different species that are out on the waterfront. Once they do that, they can get the permitting, and then we can get that one into design. So those permanent pumps will come first, and we'll be working the overall design while those pumps are going in.
Good. Okay. Thank you. This time, City Manager, you have anything else to report?
No, sir.
Okay. It's time to move to item 9, City Attorney reports.
Nothing at this time, sir.
Okay. It's time to move to closing comments by council members. Councilmember Cotton.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo what's already been said with Hurricane Debbie passing. A thank you to all of our city staff and everybody that worked hard and diligently to maintain the safety and resiliency for our residents. I think this was a good test. I mean, what was it, 100-year rain that we got, 10 inches in some areas. So very proud of you guys for working so hard, the overtime hours, making sure that things worked. What failed, getting those after action reports quickly so that we know how to move forward and be more resilient going forward. So thank you to all city staff for all that you've done. So thank you.
Councilmember Teixeira.
So I echo, thank you very much, so I can knock that off my list. Let me start off by wishing all of those of Italian heritage a happy Ferragosto Day, also known as the Day of the Assumption. Voglio augurare a tutti gli italiani un felice giorno della Ferragosta, comunato come giorno dell'Assunzione. So, last night, half of us attended the Roger Bonsimer exhibit opening reception at Clearwater Historical Society. Mr. Bonsimer is considered Clearwater's first artist in residence. He has been advocating for the arts since the early 1970s. The exhibit features a diverse collection of his pieces throughout his career. And I encourage everyone to go out and check it out, and it's open through November. Last but not least, I'm excited to be working as a member of the Arts Alliance, Clearwater Arts Alliance, in advocating and promoting the arts in Clearwater. As part of that initiative, I now have the opportunity to combine my love for this city as well as my love for wearable art and putting that into action. I will be having a pop-up exhibit in this building right across the hall, the Clearwater Main Library, September 3rd through the 21st. The exhibit is called Uncommon Couture. Opening reception is September 3rd from 6 to 8. I will have my designer hip pouches will be available for purchase, and all those proceeds will be donated to the Clearwater Art Alliance.
Thank you. Councilmember Marina.
Councilwoman, you set the bar pretty high on the bilingual, so I'm going to do this in Pig Latin if you don't mind. Just kidding. Echo the same thoughts on how proud we are of our staff working through the storm, how responsive we are, even ahead of some of the issues regarding the storm before it came, and then how quick we move forward once we identify challenges on making changes to those, and That's appreciated the entire team. I know in my household, we have a bit of post-Olympic letdown. Don't know about the rest of yours. I think my wife's been crying since the closing ceremonies, but hopefully we move past it twice. I know we are all, as a community, super excited for the 3 athletes that we have based out of Clearwater, and especially Bobby Fink bringing home another, not just a gold medal, but a world record was very important. And I know it means a lot to our entire Clearwater community. So that's the end of my Pig Latin.
Vice Mayor Elbred.
Well, I'm happy to announce on August the 8th, the governor approved the reapportionment plan for Fort Pinellas that we submitted late last year. Clearwater does get another seat of representation on Pinellas's MPO, so we'll be talking about that in the next couple of months and maybe get somebody seated by the beginning of the year.
If that, we move to item 11, closing comments by mayor. Echo the thoughts on congratulating particularly Noah Lyons and Bobby Fink. Noah finished 9th in what was a new event for the Olympics, this type of sailing. He, I don't know if he tweeted, but he posted on social media afterwards that he was excited, his first Olympics, to do that well, and couldn't wait to come back and compete 4 years from now in Los Angeles. So it's very exciting. And Bobby Fink got a silver and was a little disappointed from that, but he came back and won a gold medal and set a world record in doing so. And it's just, for those of us who have been elected to represent Clearwater, it's just so great to see kids grow up here or do really well and go on to do great things. Bansimer had grown up, went to Clearwater High School, and he had a show, he and his wife had a show on PBS for 10 years that was very popular. So it's always interesting to me to see folks grow up in Clearwater and go on to do great things. We want them to do great things in Clearwater too when they grow up, but we also want them to go out into the world and make Clearwater proud like these young people have. And so that reminds me, on Monday I went and visited a couple schools here locally for first day of school, and to remind all of us in the public that kids are back in school now, so take a deep breath before you get very aggressive driving to and from work and around school properties. And we've certainly, I know the Clearwater Police watch the schools closely around the first couple of weeks of school, just to make sure people are honoring those school zones and not endangering our kids and endangering their parents, because if you're in a car line that's somehow close to a school and in the middle of traffic, it can be bad for the parents too. And then certainly pedestrians, kids crossing the street, respect the hundreds of crossing guards who volunteer and get out there and protect our kids. And I always try to thank them whenever I see them on the street, because we really need to make sure these kids get a good education, are safe in doing so, and grow up to want to do great things like our Olympians did. And the last thing, last two things, the Sister Cities Commission thing we had earlier, it's so important to see that program prosper like that. See how it's not just about the council going ever so often to visit Japan. It's about the annual involvement that our Clearwater kids have internationally. And as I said earlier, those 5 kids that have been over there, they will never look at the world the same after they've had that experience. And I think the story that a lot of folks don't know is we host Japanese students here all the time too, and they make a great impression when they go back to Japan too. So that's a long-term program for Clearwater. It's great for the entire city. Glad to see it continue. And the last thing is, for football fans, high school football starts this weekend. I know all of the Clearwater high schools, public and private, are playing, and if you get a chance to get out to see one of them play this weekend or over the coming weeks, I'm sure they would appreciate your support as they start the high school football season. So with that, I will adjourn the August 15, 2024 meeting of the Clearwater City Council.